Hey everybody, we're back at Behind the Bits. I'm still Scott, and today I've got with me the UK phenom, Lucy Orchard. How you doing, Lucy?
Hello. Hello. I'm so grateful for you having me on the Behind the Bits
Yeah,
podcast.
I was really pleased to find you on these Zoom mics. You do them a lot more than I do, but I found you actually on my local mic, the for the drop, and it was neat to have somebody from across the pond coming in and talking to us. So that was neat. How did you find the drop mic?
Well, my I did a comedy course in the UK, and one of my classmates is actually from South Bend, Indiana.
Oh
Well, from
wow.
Indiana, just up the road from South Bend, and
Mhm.
she has performed at the Drop in real life. Do you remember real life? Do you remember when there were
IRL? Yeah,
people? You
yeah.
know, there's like people seemed like really 3D.
Uh-huh.
Um, and she had performed and she saw that the drop was going online. And I had just done one online gig in the UK. And she said, hey, you know, do the drop because she knows
Uh-huh.
I'm terrible for staying up late. I mean, it's not like how are the time differences. It's like I was still up anyway.
Yeah.
And now it's become the point where I am part of the regular gang that does the drop. And like even the fact that like you were there Tuesday, but you've been off a couple of weeks. We all noticed it. Like we're a little gang. Like, where's King? Where's Scott?
Yeah. Well, that's great, and I'm really going to, when we get into the non-live part of this, really get into the whole streaming thing and some of the stuff that you're doing, because I think you're taking it probably and doing as good with it as anybody I know, and I I truly believe that this type of stuff is going to be around after the whole pandemic's over in some way, shape, or form, because some people are leaning into it like you are and doing a great job at it. And it's a great way to get in front of an audience you normally wouldn't be in front of. So we're going to talk about that offline. So what you have to do is subscribe to Behind the Bits and download the podcast, and you can hear the whole story. But we're going to do the rapid round now. So these are the questions I ask everybody, and this is like the entertainment tonight type thing. The usual questions comics get asked. So, first of all, Lucy, what part of UK are you from?
Originally, I'm from Wales, but I live in Devon in England.
Okay, how far is Devon from Wales?
Hour and 20.
Okay, because Jamie, that I introduced you to, is in Wales.
Ah, right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
We are a fantastic bunch.
So, when did you start doing stand-up comedy?
I graduated my comedy course on February 9th, 2020.
All right. So right before the shit hit the fan.
Oh, yes, I was there with my little handkerchief on my stick, looking at the horizon and going, I'm ready for this world. Oh, we're locked down. Okay.
Now what?
This doesn't work with my scheduling. Can we do the pandemic next year?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. It's funny. Jamie that I talked to yesterday did a class right before he started. He's been doing it for a little over a year, and it's interesting that I think over there the classes are a little bit more prevalent. We've got them in some of our major cities like New York and LA has a class, and I think Nashville has a class, and some of our bigger cities, but they're not as prevalent like all around the country. So that's interesting that you both came out right out of a class.
I'm that person that if I want to do anything that I don't know how to do, I never think I can't do it because I don't know how to do it. I
Hmm.
always sort of lean into academia. I used to be a teacher, and I mean, even though like we were getting a new dishwasher, so I watched a YouTube tutorial. I wanted to know how to do it. There's always somebody that's done it first, and you can't teach funny, but you can teach me the bones,
Yeah, no
you
doubt.
know. And with the comedy course that I did, and my friend from Indiana, it is the most prestigious course there is in the UK. So go hard or go home, bitches. You know, I
Yeah.
went big one. My course is when you say it to other comedians, they go, "Oh, that one."
Oh yeah. And
Yeah,
then
that
they're scared. Yeah.
one.
Okay, good. who were your comedy influences? What was it that made you want to start doing comedy? Who did you watch that got you into it?
My family are hilarious.
Hmm.
There is no topic that can't be laughed at. And if you're laughing, you're not crying. But when it comes to comedy, when I grew up, comedy has always been big on TV in the UK. As your national, we've only got a few channels. We've never had a million channels. And
Hmm.
you'd come in on the weekend, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There would always be a big show, like 7, 8 o'clock, and it'd be like the Noel's House Party, the Russ Abbott, Jasper Carrot, Victoria Wood, those big names, and you'd sit down as a family and laugh and watch. And my grandparents and we spent a lot of time together because my mum was working, and I got to watch all the older comedies as well. So I've got such an appreciation and honor to say that some comedians don't know about the history of comedy in the UK. So I like your Morecambe and Wise. I like your Des O'Connor. You know, I want your Hilda Bakers and your Beryl Reeds. And I think if you really want to lean into comedy and you think you're original, Google it.
No
Somebody
doubt.
else
Yeah.
has done it. Somebody else.
And a lot of the conversations I have with people who have been around for 40 or 50 years, they're like, nobody's invented anything for a long time. And it's they've done their own take on it, which is what you're supposed to do. But really, you haven't invented anything. They compared Mitch Hedberg to Henny Youngman, and both the same delivery, both one-liners. If you put them side by side, they're the same thing. Mitch Hedberg was just a little bit, more out there, more drug humor, and Henning Youngman was just talking about his wife. So
We've got a comedian over here called Miranda Hart, and there's one called Stuart Lee, and they'll be talking to the audience, and then they'll break the third, the fourth wall, and they'll look down the camera and go like that. And that came from Morecambe and Wise in decades ago. But Morecambe and Wise took it from Arthur Askey off the old vaudeville boards. So it's like that, you're not sorry,
yeah,
love.
yeah,
That was done before.
yeah. That's great. This is one that I brought in because I'm interested, and it doesn't have anything really to do with comedy unless what you say it has to do with comedy. What books are you reading? Music are you listening to? Podcasts, magazines, anything that is like changing your life or making things better or just clicking off a light bulb for you? Is there anything that's really,
For
really
me, if
good?
if I go to bed, when I go to bed, I have to listen to Radio 4 radio station because we got an app. So any radio station, any shows that are on all time of the day, you can watch them on catch up, listen to them on catch up. So I can't go to sleep without a nice murder mystery playing.
Oh,
I'm not sleeping if someone isn't dying.
okay.
And it has to be something like Agatha Christie. At the moment, I'm Miss Marple, so I've just done Nemesis, and now I'm Murder in the Caribbean. And it's just something lovely and warm. A little English lady going around and solving murders, and
Uh-huh.
I drift off to them, and I like. And then for my mental health, I make sure I watch Queer Eye. And
Uh-huh.
I listen to What's the Tea with RuPaul and Michelle Visage,
Okay.
and those two fix me.
Hmm.
I do need visual and auditory when I'm trying to. I definitely need auditory, and for me, if I go dark and I'm feeling under weather, like mentally wise, the RuPaul and Michelle, they'll put it back together, and they'll remind you that you are fallible, and that you are strong, and you are resilient, and you can put yourself back together, and you can be anything you want. And that's what that podcast does for me. Although people might think, oh, it's just two superstars talking about Drag Race. No, they very rarely talk about Drag Race. They talk about their struggles, having to redefine themselves after losing jobs or losing loved ones, and
Hmm.
how to find your own sort of voice inside. And it really is. It's the most self-help thing. I listened to 11 episodes of RuPaul. What's the Tea? I left my boyfriend and my job
Oh,
in the same half hour.
wow. Well, I guess that's empowerment. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, I can do this.
Yeah. You know,
And
it's it's great. It's funny you talk about that, and mine has actually always been, and I've actually got a joke about it. It's always been Tim Gunn and Heidi Klum on Project Runway, and everybody thinks that that's a joke. I have watched every single Project Runway except for the ones that Alyssa Milano hosts because I don't like her that much. But Tim Gunn, I just think is the guy for me. I mean, the fact that he can go in and tell people that you're not making this right and cry in the same sentence and just be a gentleman about everything. I absolutely love him. So he's one of those guys. They ended up kicking them off of Project Runway, and then they did an Amazon show. And my wife and I, we got through it in like 2 days. And so I'm ready for the next season. Okay, last one. What comedy album or special would you consider to be your all-time favorite?
Victoria Wood, An Audience With.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I answered too quickly. The best TV special ever is, I think, is 1986. It's An Audience With Victoria Wood. It's available on YouTube.
Okay.
And what we used to do in Britain is we did an audience with, and it would be a star, comedy star, and they would stand on the stage and they would take questions from an audience. And it would be, the questions would be set up, but they'd still be touching. I mean, the Joan Rivers audience, or even the Kenneth Williams audience. Nowadays, an audience with is where somebody goes, "Can I do you have a question?" And they go, "Oh my God, how come you're so great?" That's not an audience with. It'd be like, "Did you find it hard when your mother died?" That's what it used to be like. And they'd sit on a bar stool on a stage and they'd bare their soul. But Victoria Wood's special, her audience with, I mean, no one told that woman to take a breath. In the first 5 minutes, she does 20 minutes of material.
Oh, wow.
And it's sharp and practiced and, yes, just, when I grew up.
Your answers are so clear and concise, you don't even have to think about it. That's great.
I love talking about comedy. Talking about comedy.
That's great. Hey, we're going to get off live here pretty quick, though. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to let people know what you're doing and how to find you and all the cool stuff that's going on with you. So shoot.
Okay, well, I've got a website. It's lucyorchard.com. It's not that difficult to remember. And from there, it's got a link to all my Facebook events, because I always put everything on Facebook events. It's just the way forward. And my big baby at the moment is I do a comedy chat show with my comedy wife, Sarah Bridgman, who Scott will know from the Drop. She's been there a couple of times and she'll be coming back. But it's where we have a chat, we review other comedy specials, but we have a comedy guest on, and we either talk nonsense or we talk serious. There's no plan. It just let the conversation go the way it wants to go. And you can find that by going to twitch.tv/TKitchenSink. But if you go on lucyorchard.com, there's a massive banner at the top that says click here to get to the kitchen sink. And we upload it to Spotify, and I can't believe it. We got listeners in Australia and Nigeria. And people really enjoy it because they can sink and drive. Little pun I wrote myself. And it's just listening to two friends having a conversation, and it's sort of like a warm hug wrapped in a podcast.
Oh, that's nice. Does your mom get involved with that? I'm sorry, I haven't watched one yet.
Right. The Lucy Show is what I do every Tuesday at 9 p.m. UK time.
That's
and
the one I see.
She's my unofficial producer, and she can see that I'm talking into a camera. She can see that I've got all my sets set up, and I'll tell something, and then she just chips in. Or she wants to see the comments that are coming up too, and she'll be like, "Lucy, my screen's not working," and I'm like, "Mum, I'm kind of in the middle of something right now. Can we discuss this later?" She's like, "Well, I want to see." So she'll bring me the computer whilst I'm live, like broadcasting. And like there was one time that the screen was too dark and I was panicking. She was interrupting all the time, and all she had to do was just tilt the screen. Just tilt the screen. That's all she had to do, and she interrupted my show. I love her to pieces. She brings me drinks. We do a little sketch which is based on Victoria Wood, where we have this fake boom that she drops it into sight because that
Yeah,
was a
I've
big
seen that one.
Victoria
Yeah.
Wood thing. And I always shout boom in shot. And I've got some really loyal viewers. And it's Tuesday. I think it's 2 p.m. Central Time.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I
you need
think
to look that up because that's a UK person making
yeah,
up numbers.
I
But
think you're
it's
right because
alllucyorchard.com. It's a one-stop shop. Coming on.
yeah, and I've got to watch that Twitch thing or at least download the podcast. I'm more of a audio type guy, but I got to listen to that. I've caught a few minutes of it here and there, but I've never committed to the whole thing. And when you do a podcast, it's very hard to listen to anybody else's because you're working on your own all the time. So
Yeah.
I told you I did a run before we started talking. I've stopped listening to music when I run and put a podcast on instead, just so I can say that I've actually listened to some of these that I talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I on the rare occasion that I have worked out, I'll do it to a podcast.
Yeah.
I have no problems. I mean, yeah, fast music is great, but I've got no problems listening to words.
Yeah.
And exercising. I think
Yeah.
it just depends whether or not some people. I listen to spoken word in the same way that people listen to music.
Yeah. And really, I agree with that because I find that when I'm working out and I usually listen to like metal or punk or something when I'm working out, and it's really hard, and I'm trying to stay with the beat, and it's it kind of puts me off sync from what I really want to do when I'm listening to words, when I'm listening to audio that somebody is speaking, like even an audiobook or something like that, then I can get into a different headspace and actually concentrate on both things equally and still get a good workout in.
Ultimately, it's the cardio that's the winner.
Yeah. It sure is. So, we are going to go off live here because our viewers have seen all they get to see. If you want to watch or if you want to find out what else Lucy and I talk about, such as online comedy stuff, subscribe to the Behind the Bits podcast. And when this one comes out, it'll automatically download and you can listen to it when you're jogging, when you're driving, when you're lifting weights, whatever you want to do. So make sure that you subscribe to Behind the Bits so that you can hear all the great podcasts that we put out.
I don't mean to sort of blow my own trumpet, but if you are a comedian looking for tips on how to do better online comedy, I am prolific and I know what I'm talking about. So tune in.
Yeah, definitely listen to this one, folks. Okay, everybody. Bye.